Hello, let's talk today a little bit about how to tune your violin. The violin has 4 strings. E string, the highest string. That's the really little skinny one. Next to that is the A string. Next to that is the D string, and then finally the lowest string, the G string. Now the violin can be tuned in 2 different ways. You can change the tuning by moving the pegs or by moving the fine tuners. Now some violins will only have 1 fine tuner. This one has all 4. If you are still learning to tune, I strongly recommend getting tuners on your violin because the pegs are much harder to turn. Now there are pegs out there, I understand, that function more like tuners, but that's an extra expense, an extra chore and errand to do. That who's got time for that right now? So when you want to tune your violin, the pegs are for making large changes, and the fine tuners are for making finer, smaller changes. Now, you may be learning with your teacher how to tune by ear, either by matching pitch of your violin to another pitch source, or by listening to the resonances between the strings. And if you are, fantastic. But every now and then, all of us will get our violins really out of tune, and we just need a little extra help. Now, I'm going to put on my violin tuner. Now, I have this little owl guy, but there's many varieties of tuners available online. As a matter of fact, there's also really great online tuners on the internet. I've got this really nice one called the onlinemetronome.com. It's got metronomes, it's got a tuner, it's got keyboard stuff, all sorts of good stuff. I'm actually going to use this one for now just because it's a little difficult to see computer screen on my cell phone camera. But now I'm going to start by trying to tune my A string. Let's see what the little owl tells me. There we go. It was set for something else. So right now you can see the dial is over to the left. Now what we want is for the dial to be straight in the middle, that big dot up there at the top. Now that tells me my violin is flat. Flat means it's lower than it should be. We want to turn the tuner to the right, clockwise. That goes higher. Think of it like a screw, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. The righty-tighty makes your pitch go higher. The lefty-loosey makes your pitch go lower. So I'm going to turn my A tuner to the right. That time, I got a little closer. I'm going to give it another big turn. Ooh, almost there. We got the little green flashing from time to time. That means when we're in the green, we're good. Oh, just about. I think it likes that one. There. I think that's pretty good. So it's saying green. It's going right to the middle. Looks like we're in the clear. Now, I just changed these strings today, which means they're going to be very out of tune. Strings take a little while to get used to being in tune. They take a while to get stretched out enough to be consistently in tune. So I know that my D string is super low and out of tune right now. Now, I could start by using my tuner, but what would happen, if you look at these tuners, they are screws. If I screw it and it goes too far down, I'm going to get to a place where I can't tune it anymore. And if I can't turn it anymore, if I need it to go higher than that, then what I have to do is use the peg. The peg can make bigger changes. So what I'll do with the peg, let's say I'm trying to make my D string higher, but I'm out of screwing in room. So I'm going to take my peg and I'm going to turn it away from me like this. That makes it go higher. Now, I'm not going to make a huge turn because a small turn with the peg can make a pretty big difference to a violin string. And if I go too many turns at once, you can break your string. So I just made a little turn. And when you're turning a peg, you have to push in while you turn. If you don't, it won't stick in the peg hole and it'll just come unwound, and then you'll have to wind the whole thing up again and start again. So, good. Now, I did what I wanted to do. So if you look at the tuner, I went too high. That's what I wanted, because now I can unscrew my D tuner to get it a little bit lower. Let's see if we got it enough yet. Nope, not enough. It's getting closer though. I saw a little green flash. Getting closer. There, I think it likes that. Maybe just a teensy bit more. Good. So the peg, not only can it be used for making big changes, but it can be used for undoing some of the screwing in that you've done here. So if it's like all the way down to the tail piece here and you just can't turn it to the right anymore, that's when you want to turn your peg. Now, I turned it away from myself. I made it higher. If you want to make it lower, you've got to turn it towards yourself. Like, let's say you were trying to do what I just did. You were trying to make it a little too high so that you could unwind down here and get that screw out a little bit more. But you went too far. And you've unscrewed your screw and it's almost all the way out and you're afraid your screw is going to fall out. Then what you need to do is actually make it higher again over here, or lower again. So then you would need to turn it towards yourself. Now, in general, you're going to find yourself turning the pegs higher more often than you're going to find yourself turning them lower. Violin strings in general have a tendency to stretch out, making them lower, making them flat. And that's why, very often we have to turn those tuners clockwise to make the strings higher, and why we end up having to like overcorrect up here so that we can unscrew the tuners down at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got a nicely in tune A string. Must have gone a little fast. Like I said, I did tune them today. They're very prone to change. There. There. I see green. Okay, D. D wants a little higher. There. Now it's in the green. Okay, let's see about G. That almost doesn't even register as a G. So I'm going to go ahead and just use my peg just to begin with. I can tell already this is not going to be a fine tuner. It's got to go too far. If it's not even registering as the note you know it's supposed to be, you're probably going to have to use your peg. Still got to go more. Ooh, okay, so now, there. Now I've got my little lines heading up towards the middle. It's not there yet, but it's a lot closer. So now I can probably switch to using my tuner. Just about. Let's see. When you're tuning the tuners, you don't need to do full turns. Maybe just like a quarter of a turn each time you're trying it, unless you really know it's got to go a long way. Okay, that's staying green. That's happy. Happy G string. Okay, now, E. Okay, that's pretty low. Now, ordinarily, if it's registering that low, you want to go ahead and use your peg. Now, E string is different though, because E string is so small. It is extra sensitive to the turns of the fine tuners. You can actually probably get twice as much change in your E string using the fine tuner as you can with any of the other strings, because it is so small. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a pretty healthy, like, full turn. And listen again. That's better. Let's give it another one. Because it is so small, it also has the most likelihood of breaking. Getting closer. There we go. Now it's in the green. So again, you want to be able to use the tuners if you possibly can. But again, if they're down too far or it's just too out of tune, then you resort to your pegs. Now, if your pegs are super, super hard to turn, I recommend getting a product called Peg Dope. Peg Dope is it's a kind of oil that you can use to make your pegs turn a little bit more easily. So you would have to take the peg out, and it looks like a little bit like a little chapstick tube. Let me get mine so you can see. There it is. Here's the Peg Dope. This is what it looks like when you order it. Mine is very old and all of the markings are off it, so you can't really see anymore. But if you needed to dope your peg, you would have to unscrew the peg. You'd have to take the string out and then remove it from the violin. Put on some Peg Dope and then put it back in, and it should tune a little bit more easily next time.